对红色，这样有在朋友就可以了。
Okay, so that's the class and start the second hours. Okay, so far we have introduced the APT model and the multi-factor APT model, and one of the multiple APT is most famous one is the pharma French three-phase model. Okay, so yes, the model extends the campaign by adding to another factor. Okay, so the model looks like this one. The left-hand side is the return minus the risk-free rate. Okay, so in the left-hand side is the x-axis return. Okay. And in the right-hand side, we have the alpha term, the intercept term here. Okay, and the market factor. So this term is the comes from capital, right? The market return minus the risk-free rate. Okay, and we have the beta here. And the second factor is we call it the small minus big. Small minus big. Okay, so SMP here, the small minus big means that the return of the small portfolio minus the return comes from the big size portfolio. Okay, so actually here we call the factor loading factor here because the value here means that we compare or we focus on small firm return for small firm, and then how large is the small firm greater than big firm, because we know that the small firm have a high risk. So according to the high risk, high return. So the small minus big can capture the risk premium for the firm size. So the common factor here is firm size. Okay. Any question? Okay. So another one. The next one we call the high minus low. High minus low. So which is the high BM portfolio? The return comes from high BM portfolio minus low BM portfolio. High minus low. Okay. And the detailed story, because we have the paper, right? The three-phase model paper. So I hope the student can introduce more detail when they present the paper. Okay. So I mean that why high BM have high risk, and what kind of risk? Okay. And yes, actually, size also the risk, right? What kind of risk? Okay, so we usually say that firm risk, size premium, value premium, but the risk behind the premium, we should have the story. Okay, so yes, I have a student who present the pharma three-phase model. Hope the student can also interpret that what kind of risk here. Okay, what kind of risk here. Okay, because for beta, okay, market risk. However, actually we do not. I do not introduce the risk behind SMB and N-channel. Okay. And do you think about do you think that they are actually a little bit tricky because size here, right? The size firm value here, and also here we also have the actually BM is yes, thank you. Actually, BM is the book. BM book value divided by the market value. one, actually size. Because that size, our market value is equal to the price times share outstanding. Okay? So why Pharma and French can put these very similar factors in regression, in one regression? Right? Because size in the denominator here, and well, another one is we only consider size. What's different risk? The risk difference between size and BM. Right? Because they use the similar component, but Pharma and French separate these kind of risk into two sources, right? The common factor. Why? Why? Okay? So who present the three-factor model? Who? Are you here? Please raise your hand. Okay, I will very hope you can just tell me answer this question, right? Are you with me in the discussion? Yes, we have a size here, and we also have a size in a size premium. So why? Okay. So anyway, so this is very famous model. We call the Pharma and French model, and maybe we can say that so far the Pharma French model is most general or most widely accepted factor. Okay, we accept that the size, especially size effect, is very stable and very strong effect in the stock market. Okay. Okay. So yeah, so far we have the K10. We have a capital model. Use the market factor. We have APT, for example, we have the Pharma and French three-factor model, market, size, and BM factor. So, but we still have some return patterns are still difficult to explain fully. Okay, so this phenomena we call the anomaly. Okay? Because when we control the common factor, which means that when we consider the common risk in our regression, or we can say that when we control or we hold this risk keep constant, but for some trading strategy can still generate the abnormal return. Okay? So this phenomena we call the anomaly. Okay? Okay, so recall the factor model here. We have the three factor, market factor, size, and BM. And later in 2015, Pharma and French extend the three factor to five factor. The profitability, and then add another two factor, profitability and investment. Okay, so now my question is that if the pattern is, if we have an anomaly, where we can know that? According to maybe, for example, the simple one, according to the three-factor model, which component can prove our trading strategy or this firm is anomaly? Which component? Actually, it's similar to the five-factor model, right? So which one? Which component? Can prove that, okay, there is an anomaly in the market. Which component? Are you with me? Can you understand my question? So we said that yes, the stock market still have the anomaly. So, or we said that, yes, the unusual pattern are often observed. Okay, so we call anomaly. So my question now is that which component? Let's focus on the Fama 3 model. Which component can prove that we have anomaly? Positive alpha. Why?
Because it can be explained by the swing factor.
How about the residual term? It is the meaning, right? It's the essential. Your answer is this one, right? Because it cannot explain or exclude out. It cannot explain by the factor here. So now my next question is that why we do not focus on the residual term? Why? You are correct. Actually, in the Fama branch or in the asset pricing factor, when we said that, oh yes, our trading strategy have the abnormal is an anomaly. Then we use this alpha. Whether this alpha is significant different from zero, positive or negative are both are okay. Okay. So we focus on whether this term is exist. Okay, is not equal to zero. But now my question is that why we focus on intersection rather than error term? Why? Why? I already interpreted it before in the previous slide a lot, several times. Why? Because this term represents what? Yeah, because here we focus on I here, right? So this term represents the firm specific risk. And when our portfolio is large, the firm specific risk will become very small. Okay, this is the first explanation. The second one is that actually, if we draw the line for the factor model, and the line is just like this one, and actually the alpha here is the intersection. This one, right? And this term, the meaning of the actual meaning of this term is in long run, the long run average. Because here you can see that the notice chain we don't have the T here. So when we draw the regression line, and this intersection is shown that in our sample period, we have the non-zero average here. Because if we just look at one dimension, for example, like the SMB here, actually we have several dimensions, okay? And here is RI minus RS. So what's the meaning of this point? When the beta, the small minus big equal to zero, right? Or we can say that only when market factor 0, size factor 0, BM factor 0, then we have the alpha. So in other words, that we control after we control or keep all the risk constant. After we control all the risk constant, we still have the non-zero average in the stock return or portfolio return. Okay, so why we don't focus on this one? Actually, this one is for the first specific case. Okay, and it is not and this term is not belongs to the long term or the it not belongs to a long term concept. Okay, so that's why in general, when you read the paper and you will see that okay, we find anomaly, And the story behind here is they observe the non-zero or non-zero interceptor in their model. Okay? Any question? Any question? And yeah, the idea I want to talk you is that when you read the paper, okay, anomaly, yes, you need to think about that alpha here. That's it. In short, that's it. Abnormal return, alpha. Okay? Any question? So even we use the under the pharma 5 factor, it's still the same story. We try to confirm whether this alpha is equal to 0 or not. Even we add another factor into the regression model. Okay? Any question? Any question? Any question? Yes, and I remember from the presentation paper, we have N26 2006, right? Who presented that paper? And et al. 2006. Actually, that paper focused on this term. And their main finding is that they call this term is the idiosyncratic volatility, the risk or the variation for the specific firm. Okay? And actually, this paper provides very interesting story. They find that when the idiosyncratic volatility higher, the future return will be lower. And why? And why? So I hope the student can just explain why. Provide the story to explain why the alpha, when alpha higher, and the return lower. Because it's tricky because high risk, high return, right? But we find that high alpha, high idiosyncratic volatility, high idiosyncratic risk higher, but return lower. Why? Okay. So who presented the NIO 2006? Who? Are you here? No? Yeah, it's okay. Okay, anomaly. Any question? Any question so far? Okay, so therefore, we have the pharma, or according to ABT model here, we have the one very excellent research method to identify the anomaly, right? And then maybe start from 2010 to 2000, maybe 2020. During this period, a lot of paper have found that unusual pattern in stack return, and even they include the size, value, or momentum, or the calendar effect. Yeah, it's one of the examples. But after they control for 3 factors, we still find a lot of anomaly here. Okay. So yes. So that's why here I want to introduce the words we call it the factor zoo. Factor zoo. Yeah. Because we have a lot of anomaly. And once we find the scholar find anomaly, and we try to form a change the anomaly become a factor. So one anomaly, one factor. 1,000 anomaly, 1,000 factor. Okay, so that's why we call it the factor zoo here. Okay. Okay, so maybe the student can guess that how many anomaly the scholar found during maybe 2010 to 2018, 19. I can tell you more than 500 anomalies, and each anomaly represents one. In the early in the in the 2011 or 12, one anomaly can be a 1A plus paper. However, in the maybe when close to the 2017, 18, maybe one anomaly, maybe only one A tier 1 or A tier 2 paper. Okay, so the problem is that too many proposed factors, okay, makes asset pricing harder to interpret, okay? So it's become difficult to know which factors are truly important, And here we have another issue we call the data mining. Actually, I also buy this story. A lot of empirical finding. I'm not saying that 100% comes from data mining, but 80 or 6% comes from data mining. Because when we change the setting of your data, your empirical result will be disappear. In my personal experience. Okay. So first point is that some factors just reflect the data mining. So here it extends another question, a problem we call the p-hacking. So do you know that before? P-hacking? So we know that. How about the concept for the student? When we call the 100%, 1% significant in p-value. P-value equal to 0.001% p-value. What is the meaning of this value? Well, the 1% p-value. Which means this value have 1% belongs to, lower than 1% belongs to significant area, right? According to the definition of the p-value. So you can think about that when we construct maybe 125 portfolio, definitely have the sum of is significant. Because the criteria we setting to 1%. And actually this story we call the p-hacking. Once we have the large enough portfolio number, of course you can find some significant portfolio, right? So why here we call it data mining? Because okay, 10 do not have a result. Maybe we try 25. Okay, 25 still no. Okay, 50. Still no, maybe 100. Okay, so this process we call data mining. The concept is we call data mining. Use the different way, and the final target is to generate a significant result. Okay, and different story may find a different factor in a different sample, and some factors are not stable in out of sample. A lot of anomaly only exists in their sample period. So when we extend their study into the folder data period, we will find that okay, the return disappear. Okay. So as the number of the proposed factor grows, the model selection becomes very difficult. So this is why researchers refers to as the factor loop. Okay, because too much, a lot of factor loop. Okay. So I can provide the suggestion for the master students. So if now in your master thesis, I really not suggest the student to do the research related to anomaly. Because in this time, if you want code, you provide a new anomaly, it's very, very difficult. Because now we already have maybe more than 500 anomaly, so if you provide the one new anomaly, you need to explain that, okay, what's different of your anomaly and another 500 anomaly? And whether your anomaly can explain or can exclude out by another 500 anomaly. Okay, so in my opinion, in the master's level, okay, just avoid anomaly research, the topic, okay? Any question? I mean, not trying to provide new anomaly, because in this time it's very difficult. But you can focus on the very stable anomaly in the literature. Okay, later I will introduce that. Okay. This is a very famous paper, and the title is that replicating anomaly. Replicating anomaly. And the authors including Professor Hou, Ru, Zhang, Xue, and Zhang, the three Chinese professors. Okay. And if you're interested in it, you can just find this paper in the Google Scholar. And according to Archer, they try to replicate 447 anomalies in the literature. Okay? And with the micro-cat, defined based on NYSE exchange breakpoint and value weighted return, they found that 20 among 400, right? 286 anomalies, okay, is insignificant. Insignificant. Maybe 60% paper the return disappear. Okay? And even for the okay, so if we increase the threshold, which means that we hope the stating that the t-value should be higher than 3, avoid the p-hacking, okay, higher than 3. The number of the insignificant become 380 paper. It's become insignificant. Okay. Yeah. So they provide after they provide this paper, and we noticed that okay, how replicate the paper is very important. Okay, so here I can provide another 2 tips for the master student. The first one is that when you read the paper and decide use maybe this paper as your key paper, please try to replicate the paper first, and then make sure that you can successfully find the same result, and then just begin in this paper. If not, I'm not encouraging students to use this kind of paper. Okay, because in my own experience, we don't need to. You don't need to who is the professor, but it's very famous professor, and I just try to replicate his paper, published in JV, the top A+ paper, and they find the positive alpha based on some trading strategy, and I just try to replicate their result, and then I fail. Maybe I spent maybe 3 months to do that. I fail. And finally, I found the appendix, the detail step in internet, and I just check their step and my step, and I found that wow, the original data set are quite different, but we use the same data source. And then I just try to, because he's a Taiwanese, I try to ask the professor question. Hi, professor, I just want to know that why we use the same merging process, same data sources, same analysis method, but I cannot produce a similar result. And yes, the professor is very nice. Hey, he explained that. Okay, because when we merge the data, we use another folder. We will also use another way to merge the data. So that's why I cannot replicate the result, because he said that because their data is the unique data, because the merge process using the different way to matching the firm and the financial information. Okay, so that's why the first tip is that please replicate the paper first. Okay, replicate the paper first. Yeah. And the second one is that try to build up or try to building your story based on newest and the good rating paper, because it's more safety. Because the good paper usually correct, usually correct. And you don't think of, you do not think about that. The paper is definitely 100% correct. No, no. So that's why I very focused on the good paper, ATL greater than 81. Okay. Okay. So final, yeah. Let's back to the paper here. Let's back to the paper here. So maybe you can think about that. Finally, which journal buy this paper? Which journal? This obviously is very great work, right? Very excellent work. They just argue the maybe provide very good, excellent result. But finally, they only publish in IFAs. Oh, maybe the third ranking in the A+ paper. Why? 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 Here, I do not explain why, but you can think in discussion by yourself. Why? Definitely is a very good paper, but they do not publish in JF. Why? Actually, a similar case in the history, we have a similar case, and this story is even later. Let me Peterson, cluster, clustering arrow. Which one? Peterson. Okay, maybe in the break time I will find a paper and show you. Actually, in the history, all the very good paper finally do not publish in the JF or the top 1 ranking in that area. Why? I do not provide my opinion, but you can think about that. Why? Okay. Okay, so let's move to move back to the paper. Okay, so the objective of this paper is to examine whether the published asset pricing anomaly can truly be replicated. Okay, and the task anomaly literature using a common replication procedure process and evaluate whether many reported amounts are weakened by micro-caps and data mining concept. Okay. Yes, micro-cap. If you still very interested in the asset pricing, I can tell you the micro-caps or the small firm is very deep. It's very crucial in your results. Maybe when you include or exclude the micro firm, the result will totally different. Or totally different. Just you can just try it. Okay, so the sample period is start from 1967 to 2014. Okay, and use the monthly return from quiz, the counting data from compute state. So actually, this very standard data set, but I'm not sure whether our school have the right decide to use it or not. If not, we can discuss later. Okay, and also the financial firm and the firm with a negative equity are excluded. Okay, so I will told you that when you replicate the paper, the detail is very important, because if you not consider detail, the result may be 80% bad. Because especially for the financial firm and the negative equity, this condition is very, very important. Okay? Okay, so the main finding, yeah, I mentioned before, so let's quickly go through the slide. So the authors replicated more than 400 anomalies and using the NYSE breakpoint. Why? Why they use the NYSE breakpoint as the standard, as the benchmark? So maybe in the bounce rate model, you can tell me. Okay, I can tell you. Because when we do the American market, we usually include the stock counts from 3 markets: the MX, NYSE, and the NASDAQ. And we know that the NASDAQ is high-tech firm, and usually small size. So if we use the breakpoint in all the firm, actually you will find that the small firm are only NASDAQ firm. Okay, so it's not our story, so it's not our purpose. So usually in the asset pricing paper, or you follow the pharma process, I will call for pharma process, like we will use the NYSE breakpoint. You will use the NYSE breakpoint to decide whether this firm belongs to large firm, medium firm, or small firm. Okay, and using the p-value 3. Okay. Yes, the conclusion is that the capital market may be more efficient than the previously recognized, okay? Because they found that when we try to increase our criteria and try to replicate the results, a lot of results disappear. So which means that the market is efficient, okay? Okay, so here I just want to summarize some anomalies are relatively robust in their paper. Actually, this kind of anomaly can provide the math student very good motivation. You can just say that motivated by the 2017 paper, because the professor said that yes, these anomalies are very stable and very strong, so we focus on these anomalies. Therefore, this kind of very good motivation, right? Because we start from the very good paper and try to provide meaning for the test in your master's thesis. Okay, so which anomalies are relatively robust? Usually including the earnings-related momentum. Okay, momentum. So the student also need to present the momentum, right? The Jagdish and Tiedemann paper. I remember that I selected the Tiedemann momentum paper. So does anyone know the concept of momentum here? Momentum? What is momentum? Hello? Wake up? Actually, momentum means that in the past 6 months, during the past 6 months, the winner will become winner, and the loser will still lose money. That's why we call it momentum. Okay, and the earnings, first earnings have the same phenomenon, so that's why we call it the earnings-related momentum. Okay, and the second one is again momentum. So you see that momentum is very important phenomenon in the asset prices until now. We have maybe the 50-week high momentum. 50-week high momentum. Actually, the story is very beautiful. Let me tell you. that paper says that when the stock price close to the past 50-week high, and this kind of stocks will still keep earn the money in the future, because the 50-week high provide flow for the price. And when the current price is close to the 50-week high, the investor will think about that. Oh, it's too high. Then we'll stop here. Okay, so that's what we call the 50-week high. It's another very interesting momentum paper. Okay. Yes, momentum, and the third one is accrue anomaly. Accrue. So, does anyone can explain what is accrue or accrue item in accounting? Accounts receivable and other accrual item. So we try to use the accounting method to realize the firm's profit early, but in the end, the profit will back to the fair value, right? So in this process, we can obviously the return will reflect this kind of information. Okay, we call it accrual anomaly. And the cash-based profitability. Okay, and the third one is my major interest, research interest in R&D to market. So in my experience, high R&D expenditure, or we call that a high R&D intensity in the future, this kind of firm tend to have a higher future return, because investor cannot 100% reflect the new technology. So that's why we see that a high R&D, high return. Okay, because it's one of my paper. So also I can provide a story here. And the seasonality anomaly. Seasonality anomaly is most famous one is the what? January effect. January effect, right? What is January effect? No? Maybe we can. I will ask you in the meeting. Okay. Okay. So far so good. Any question? Any question? So again, we start from campaign, and the campaign is true. It's not close to our daily life. So therefore, was provided the APT model, and the pharma extend the APT model to develop the three-factor model, and in 2015 they provide another five-factor model. Okay, and if the model, the intercept of the model, the factor model, the interception is still significant, then we call it anomaly. And then because there are too much anomaly in literature, so we call it the factor zoo here. Okay. And the Professor Zhang, they provide this paper to replicate the 400 anomaly, and they find that maybe only 10% anomaly is stable and significant in their finding. Okay? Okay, so as more and more factors are proposed, so the problem is naturally rise, right? The disagreement becomes unavoidable, because not all factors are equally important. We only know that because in the 2017 paper, yes, only maybe 10% anomaly is important. And not all factors are robust. Okay, so researchers may disagree on which factors should be included in essay pricing model. In other words, that which factor is best, which factor is most general, which one? Okay. So that's why we call that's why the title here is that from factor zoo to factor war. Okay. Any question? No. Okay, back to work in the literature. Okay. Yes, the recent literature shows the growing disagreement across the factor model. So we have two papers here. It's very famous one, two famous one. The first one is Pharma and French 2015. They provide Pharma factor model FF5. And another one is the Q factor model, is the Ho et al. And yeah, sometimes I told you how to set when we see the authors in higher than more than 3%, we usually set that the Ho et al. You know, maybe you will see that before. For example, like this one, Ho, and you will see that O. So you can just say that Ho et al. Or Ho 2015 et al. Okay, just the tips when you present the paper. Okay, when you present the paper, you can just set that Ho et al. Yeah, because here we have 3 authors here, right? So you can just set that Ho et al. 2015 propose the Q factor model. Okay. So agreement is about more than amicable fit. It's also about the economic story. Okay, later I will introduce the war between the Zhang Ru, Professor Zhang, and the Pharma. And you need to know that actually the Eugene Pharma is the Nobel Prize winner. You know, he's very, very big guy, the senior big guy. Actually, you can think about that. If your paper can prefer, if Pharma like your paper, then your paper must be publishing A+. I believe that. Okay, because all the editors maybe are the friend of the Pharma, have a relation between for Pharma. Okay, so Pharma actually is the greatest, one of the greatest A+ guy. Okay. So therefore, the factor war is about which factors should be included and how these factors should be justified. Okay, justified. Okay. So yes, let's think about the story behind the Pharma and French approach. Okay. So the Pharma approach can be motivated by the DCF, the discounted cash flow, DCF. So the basic idea is that we know that price equal to stock price equal to future cash flow divided by the 1 plus discount rate. 1 plus discount rate. So here I only show discount rate. Okay. So when the stock, therefore, if the firm characteristic is related to cash flow and the discount rate may help us to explain the expected return, because the price will be changed in the future. And the most classical story is high risk return, right? We already discussed before. When the risk higher, the expected return for the investor will higher, so the price lower. Okay, so the idea behind the Pharma and the French factor model is DCF. DCF. Okay? Any question? So we will stop here because Pharma is usually very familiar with the Pharma concept. And in final hour, we'll introduce the Q factor model. Okay, take a break.